Hello, and welcome to the third module of our course. In the following lessons, we'll take a more in-depth look at how to work inside of After Effects. Let's begin. Basic introduction to After Effects and its interface. We'll begin by learning how After Effects works by discussing the different parts of the interface, effects, and layer types that we'll be working with and learning what they do. Workspace. Before we start working inside After Effects, we need to get familiar with the interface of the program, because even the way panels attach to one another is different from Photoshop and Illustrator. The first time you open After Effects, your interface should look similar to this. This is the default layout. There are other layout options that can be found if we go to Windows, Workspace, and select any of the other options we have there. We can even save and restore our own workspace by selecting Workspace and then Save as New Workspace. Once we do this, our new workspace will show up under the name we gave it on the list, as you can see with mine here. You can quickly arrange your panels by dragging them where you want on the interface, and you'll see After Effects will show you a visual reference of where the panel will be pinned to. You can double-click over any of the panel names to make it full screen, and double-click again to bring them back to their normal size. This option is helpful when trying to organize a lot of layers or effects on one panel. On the top of our interface, we have our main toolbar, and starting from left to right, we have Home. This will take us to the Home menu we get when we open After Effects. The Selection tool. This is the main way of interacting with layers and objects that can be accessed quickly by pressing V on our keyboard. The Hand tool. This helps us pan around our timeline and our canvas. It can be accessed quickly by pressing and holding the spacebar. The Zoom tool. This enables us to zoom in and out, but it is far easier to use the scroll wheel on your mouse instead. The next three tools are grayed out as they are used when working with 3D layers and cameras inside After Effects. We won't touch on this for now. The Rotation tool. This is used for rotating our layers. We can quickly access this by pressing W on the keyboard. Then in order to rotate a layer, we'll click and drag the tool over it. Remember that this is changing the rotation parameter, so if you have any keyframes, this will add or replace them in the timeline. The Pan Behind tool allows us to move the anchor point of a layer and can be accessed by pressing Y on our keyboard. Avoid moving the anchor point if you already have position keyframes on your layer, as this will affect them. The Shape menu allows us to select a shape from a drop-down menu that we can use to create masks or shape layers in our comps. If you double-click on this icon while selecting a layer, this will create a mask in the selected shape on the layer. You can cycle between shapes by pressing Q. The Pen tool is for creating nodes and paths and editing them by using the various options shown by holding in the button. These are the same options we have in Illustrator, except for the Mask Feather tool. This tool feathers edges by dragging one of the nodes of a mask shape. The Text tool creates text layers wherever we click on our composition. All the other options won't be touched on in this course, as they are for more advanced training, and therefore we won't need them for now. The Project panel. In our default workspace on the left-hand side, we have our Project panel. Every asset we import, composition, and layer type will be shown here. At the top, you'll find the search bar. It is quite useful, as it allows us to not only find a certain asset or composition, but it also shows missing files. If we type missing, you'll see it displays any missing or unlinked files in our project. If we extend this panel, you can see the information for each file you've imported. You can select an item and press Return on your keyboard to change its name. And you can also change the label color for the asset in your panel gallery. This will affect the color of the layer once it is placed inside a composition. At the bottom of the panel, we have a few buttons. The first one gives us quick access to the Interpret Footage menu. The options inside this menu give us different parameters we can change depending on the type of file we have imported. In our case, we'll mostly use it for two things. The first one is to change the frame rate of a video we've imported. What I mean by that is sometimes we import videos that were exported with a different frame rate to the ones we're using in our composition. This can lead to weird frame skipping in those videos on our timeline, or them being out of sync to audio that we've already recorded. If this happens, all you need to do is tell After Effects to interpret that footage with the same frame rate you're currently working on. The second case is when we have a video or audio file we want to loop a certain amount of times. I'll use this one as an example. So instead of making 20 copies of it and moving and adjusting them in our timeline, we can just tell After Effects we want this file to loop a certain amount of times, so that when we drop it into our timeline, the duration of it has been extended by the amount of repetitions we choose. Next, we have the Folder button. This creates folders so that we can better structure our files. We can either click on it or drag and drop files onto the icon to add them to new folders. The next button is Create a New Composition. When we click on it, we get the New Composition dialog box where we can set the different parameters for our new composition. We can also access this panel by going into Composition, New Composition, or by using the shortcut Command or Control and N on our keyboard. Our next icon is for accessing the project settings, but I would suggest not changing anything from this panel as the default values will work well enough. The next button is the Bit per Channel button. This gives us quick access to change the bit per channel depth information on a project. Again, this is an option we don't need to change, and it should always be left to 8 BPC in case it's been set to 16 or 32. You can cycle through them by clicking on them while holding the Alt-Option key. Finally, we have the Trash Bin button that erases anything we have selected on our panel, but it's easier to press the Delete key on our keyboard instead.